Welcome to Titan Practice Management Software demonstration. Before we get started, I want to give you a brief explanation of how Titan came about, the history of why it was developed. It was primarily developed to prevent multiple entries. In the healthcare profession, as most of you already know, there's a dilemma of having to input the same information into the patient's system over and over again. When a patient first comes in for treatment, of course, you take their intake charts. And then thereafter, when you want to do billing, say health insurance, you have to re-input the information to billing software, or you have to input their information into a clearinghouse. If you're doing personal injury or workers' comp, once again, you find yourself re-inputting the same information again and again and again. And because of this tedious repetition of multiple entry, Titan was created so that you can input the information once and it can generate documentation or billing without having to do it again. Okay, let's start now. When you first open up Titan, it's going to bring you to this page. It says open case right here, and it's going to display all your current and active cases within the last 6 months. If you want to see everything together, you can put all, active, search, and it'll list everything out. Now, of course, you can also sort by inactive patients, pending patients, or drop patients. Currently, we're in the all of the active patients. You can see that some of these color patients are colored red, and the reason being so is that should a patient not show up with a default day of say 5 days, you can designate how many days you want. Basically, the patient will turn red. And the reason why we do this is to make sure that we can follow up with the patient. Should they not show up for care, or the planned session therapies, if they're personal injury or workers' comp, you're asking them to come in 2-3 times a week, they haven't showed up for more than 5 days, then their color would turn red. So that would prompt your staff to follow up with that patient. When we first start, you press the click, or you click the create new case button, and it's going to ask you to input, either open a patient or create a new patient file. So it's just the basic information here that you fill out. Once you do that, you get one of these patients created. So let's go into the health insurance. So now this patient's case is created here, and basically you designate the time of injury, the time of the date of injury, who's going to be treating the doctor, health insurance, so there's not going to be any attorneys. Once you do say this is a personal injury case, and once you pick an attorney or you create an attorney information, this gets saved, so you never have to recreate it again, and basically you can pick from a list of attorneys that you're working with. Also, payment method. This is a health insurance, so it's going to be insurance. Depending on the clinic, some people decipher the patient payment methods in different ways. So for example, we have the default choices here: cash, credit card, insurance, PI, work comp. But you have a different category for, say, personal injury / med pay. Then you can always create your own. So if you're going to create your own, you click that PI / med pay, you add, close. And if it was a PI med pay, you can always pick this, because later you will see that you can categorize the patients in different ways. So if you wanted to see all your PI med pays in one line, you can do so. And it's also going to be helpful for you when it comes to batch billing. So in the case detail page, right after you create a patient's information, it'll bring you to this. Then you can add the different information. Once again, when it comes to insurance companies, if you created an insurance company and you save it, it will drop down in a list, and you can always pick one, because if you're in a certain area with a lot of industry, a lot of the your patients going to be from the same company, you'll find out that obviously the insurance is going to be also the same. So if you look closely here, this is pretty much the same information that you put when it comes to filling in a HCFA form. So you fill that out. Obviously, if they're not health insurance, you're not going to need to have to fill this out. And basically, you can start off by clicking this, which is SOAP charts. And basically, what this did was this just copied the SOAP chart information was copied from the previous visit. So it says the date copied from 2/5/2015. So if we were to close this, we see today is 9/25. The visit prior to that was 2/5/15. So once you're done examining the patient, treating the patient, then you're going to want to bill the patient. So you go into the invoice, and there's 3 different ways that you can produce a bill for the patient. One is via insurance form, one is an itemized bill, and the last is a flat rate. Say you do cash practice and you charge a flat $40 per visit, you can always print this out also. Going to the insurance form, there's 2 different ways that you can actually print this if you want to print this in hard copy. You can see that this is a standard HCFA form. If I was going to press print, you can print it directly on white paper like this, or if you click here, you can print it through your printer using the standard red HCFA forms. All the information that you put here will be migrated to the HCFA form, so there is no double entry, except for maybe something like this that you want to put signature on file. Going back to this, now if you're using a clearinghouse, Office Ally is linked with Titan, so that once the information is done, if you were to press e-file, basically the information, the data from the patient, you can save it onto whatever folder that you designate in your computer. From here, once you save it, you go to Office Ally, you press upload, and you press the file that you saved, and it will automatically migrate all your information to Office Ally. This is extremely useful in the sense that you don't have to do that multiple entry, number one. Number two, your staff is going to be very happy with you because you're going to find out that this saves a tremendous amount of time. So I'm going to be going over other functions of the Titan here. Let's close this. Say we go to personal injury. Go to personal injury, choose a doctor, choose a personal injury attorney, PI. Depending on if you bill out directly to the insurance company or not, you fill this information out. So once this is created, the patient comes in, you give them an examination, and you take that exam form, we will provide you guys with the exam forms, which look like this. And basically what this does is it follows the exact format of what you see in Titan narrative. So come in here, there's 3 sections: the initial exam, interim exams, and the final exams. So if I was to create a new exam, part 1, so the patient, personal injury, January 3rd, 2015. Let's make that January 4th. Okay, or we'll make it 3. Okay, so the patient comes in. This is the actual exam form. So the patient gets injured, whatever. It was motor vehicle collision, was a driver, was shot, airbag deployed, ambulance was called at the scene. Mechanism of injury: were they surprised? Yes. Where was their headrest at the time? Say it's low. Do you have any prior history of neck injury? Yes or no? Say no. Were you looking straight or forward or to the left or right? Lose consciousness. All these basically are risk factors, and now this isn't a rear end collision. If you do have any of these factors, basically what happens is it increases the risk potential of the patient, and all the research is cited on the narrative report, which this will generate. So symptomology, presenting symptoms, let's say shoulders, bilateral, neck, and then you can pick what the scale 1 through 10 intensity is, or you can always just click here and just type it in. It seems a little faster. Come in here, constant. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this, copy it, and then paste it. Social occupational history, a little anxious since the accident. Review of findings, if they had any other diagnostic tests done in different facility, HENT, orthopedics. You can see that if you come to a certain area, it'll bold it so you know exactly what you're picking. Spinal evaluation, range of motion, say 33. And the way Titan was designed, this is such a user-friendly software. The typical initial input when a patient comes in after they get evaluated will be about 10 minutes. It will take you about 10 minutes for you to input the information on the from transferring it from the initial examination to Titan. Or some doctors choose to just directly do the examination right on the computer itself. Assessment. Now, as of October 2010, of course, we're going to be transferring over to the ICD-10 codes. So let's just say we pick one. Over here is the workers' comp section. If this patient was a workers' comp patient, you fill this information out, and basically it's going to create a DFR, doctor's first report, or in the re-evals it will create the PR2s also. But just for the purpose of showing you, I'll put something in here. Recommendation, for those of you, if you have been to Croft seminars, we have received authorization from Dr. Croft, Arthur Croft, to input his Croft guidelines. Diagnosis. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the procedure, right? So whatever it is that you did for the patient. Then the recommended frequency of treatment, let's say 4 times a week for 2 weeks. Any disability dates, list of doctors. If you have more than one doctor that is in your office, you can choose that. Questionnaires, you can include neck pain disability, RAND36, or Roland Morris, and then any other attachments that you'd like to add on to your narrative report. So once this is all done, you save it, and basically you press preview. Now, what's very unique about Titan is that in most, I would say the vast majority of all the different things that we've done, like for example, motor vehicle collision, we selected this. Basically what Titan will do is it'll take a series of sentences that are all worded slightly differently but has the same content. So for example, on January 3rd of 2015, this patient was injured due to a motor vehicle collision. Another sentence, due to a motor vehicle collision on this date, the patient was injured. The patient on this date was injured due to a motor vehicle collision, so forth and so on. So basically what Titan does is it randomizes all the sentences, picks one, and creates a narrative report that looks like this. So therefore, you never get the report twice, the same report. So what's very important is you want to make sure that you save this Word file. And this is basically the only requirement that you have with the computers that are out today. You have to have Microsoft Word. So basically what this does is it randomizes the sentences and it creates it. So say you don't save it and you close it and you click preview again, you are actually going to get a different report. Now the content is the same, the findings are all identical, but the wordage is all going to be changed around. So please make sure you save it. As you can see, there's no letterhead. You can designate a certain file to have your letterhead, and your letterhead also will be migrated onto here. So once you're done creating your narrative report, and once again I said the average, I believe it's 10 minutes or less inputting all this information. You can also create SOAP charts. So the first day SOAP charts basically is a narration of the initial findings, right? So make sure you saved it, place yes, and basically that information gets migrated to the SOAP chart. Now the objective finding is left, this area is left blank. The reason being was it was requested that when everything got transferred every time, people started getting lazy. They stopped double checking, the doctors didn't check the information. So there was one area that was left open just to make sure, because no matter, even if the doctors did the examination, of course they should do the examination, they by law they have to do the diagnosis, they should still double check this, the paperwork, the input at least one time, right? So you check that, you come in here, check the diagnosis, make sure you did what you did, and of course the procedures. Now when you look at the patient, you click here, what was, now the findings, the objective findings, the palpable tenderness, the spasm of the muscles, you can, click the different area. Say, they fell on their neck, so their entire neck is all swollen up. You can click here. Now these subluxation areas actually light up, and you can actually select it. But say they didn't get injured in here, that will close this and prevent you from being able to select it. Just a foolproof way to make sure if you are going to adjust the place, you're going to have findings in the area. So that's done here. So the patient, say we adjusted them there. Actually, that's right around here, right? Okay, so we've done this. Close it. Let's come back here. So we come here. A SOAP chart was created on this day. So say the patient came in, they were injured on 1/3, okay, and the patient came in at 5 o'clock, and you guys closed at 6, and by the time you were done with them, it was past 6. Family's waiting for you, so you had to just kind of gather the thing up and then go and then take care of the paperwork the next day. So when all that happens, when we initially inputted everything, say it was inputted on the 4th. So obviously if you open up the input, it's going to have the current date on there. So if you did that, you open it on the 4th, and then you realize, you look at the SOAP charts and you go, oh, wait a minute, the patient came yesterday, not today. So you need to make these changes. So the injury came on the 1st, was January 3rd. The patient came in on January 3rd, but everything was inputted on January the 4th. So you have this error. So now basically what you can do is if you change the dates from one, it will simultaneously change it all together uniformly. So if you catch one mistake, just by making one correction in one area, you can actually change all the mistakes uniformly. So the patient actually came on the 3rd. Save, close. There. Now basically what you did was when you change it to the 3rd and go to the narrative report, the narrative report also will change. Now say this was a workers' comp patient, you print this, then you have the DFR that you can also print out, and that also goes for the PR2s if you were to have a reval here. Okay, some of the other functionalities of Titan, say you're referring the patient out to another specialist. click here, it'll have all the patient information. It'll have patient information here. Basically, what we do is we have it connected to our fax machine. So instead of printing hard paper, we just fax it directly to them. Print notes. If you click here, it will produce all the SOAP charts on here. Visit calendar. If you want to get a bird's eye view of how the patient's coming in, you can always click here. Let's do this. I'm going to create a SOAP chart that is 1 day after they came in, or let's say 2 days. So if I was to go to January, you see here the red initial exam, they came in on January 3rd, and then on Monday they came back regular visit, or that was Saturday, right? And if you click the dates that they came, it'll show you the diagnosis and the procedure that was done for the patients. We already went through invoice, the questionnaires, the RAN, Roland Morris, neck pain disability here. You can add those into it, and we already did the narrative. So that's basically how you start off a patient. It's very simple, it's very quick. So once we're done with that, it's going to show you some of the other functionality. File, basic, open, close. Data, you can put different doctors, you can put multiple doctors in here. Insurance, list of insurance companies if you want to manually input all the ones that you use, so you just choose from the ones that you work with. Same thing with attorneys, and same thing with the different codes. Now, as you can see now, because of the law, as of October 2015, we have to utilize ICD-10 codes. So for those of you who have patients, say health insurance patients, you initially diagnose them with ICD-9 codes, but after October 10th, you need to use ICD-10 codes. Then there's a very simple way to migrate or change or convert the ICD-9 to ICD-10. So say we go to here, and we're going to convert this patient now to ICD-10. Click ICD-10. It's just basically saying once you convert to 10, you can't go back to 9. So press yes, and you can see the different diagnosis that the patient had. Cervical kyphosis, this is ICD-9. Here's ICD-10. Cervical subluxation. Now, some of them have multiple codes. So as you can see here, we have multiple codes that we can pick from. Now, say there's a code that was not in here that gives you the accurate transition or translation to ICD-10, you can always add your own codes here. And then basically transfer, yes, and the transfer has been made. So now you can see here it's no longer ICD-9, it's actually ICD-10. That was the data section. Reports, case report. Say, and this is a real powerful tool. Say you want to follow up. You're working with workers' comp attorneys or personal injury attorneys. You want them to give you a follow-up on what the status of certain cases are. You can pick different, the active, pending, be pending, but we'll just put active for the sake of showing you. If you want to pick a specific attorney, let's just do all, or actually specific attorney, type of method of payment, type of insurance, if it's insurance, and then current status. Let's click attorney, press print, and basically what it's going to do is it's going to give you a list of all the cases for that. So basically what we do is it's going to have the patient's name in here, who the attorney is, and then if you have a whole list of it, once again, basically what we do is we will just we have it connected to our fax machine, and we will just basically fax print it directly to the attorney, requesting them to follow up on this case. There is a basic accounting software built into this. You can play around with it. Administration, the different types of users. Now, when you go to the admin, you have the different type of users. You can differentiate the accessibility of each employee. Administrator, of course, can just about do everything. If you have basic users or power users, basically what happens is once they make the SOAP chart, they cannot change it. Uh, SOAP date and stamp, I have it on. Basically, it's going to timestamp the dates of the SOAP charts of when it was created, and if you ever go back in, and if it was modified, also once again when it was modified. If you choose to elect not to have that, that's up to you. That's really up to you. But only the administrator can change, turn on or off this function. Tools, backup. You can always now Titan is on the cloud, so it's very safe. I believe Titan uses Amazon Cloud, but of course it's always recommended that you daily back up your database in case something was to happen. Choosing a report, this is the function where if you click here, you can browse and select another Word document that has just your letterhead on top so that it gets migrated onto your narrative reports. So it's on Windows, and that's about it. Oh, one other thing. Patient file, you can come in here. You can also open a patient via uh, the patient name, not the active cases. If you picked the sample patient, you can have, now one patient can have multiple cases. So you can see here, I'll show you back on here. So if you open this, say default, when you first open the software, it comes 6 months, it's active, comes here. Now we have the sample patient. Sample patient, this case was work comp case that we designated, but if you come in here, once again, you go to the patient file, and they can have multiple cases, and you can always double click to go into that one. Right now this is sorted by the patient's name. If you want to do it by injury date, if you want to do it by, say, attorneys, you do heavy work with attorneys, they'll differentiate all the attorneys, they'll group them together. One way, the great way to use this function is if you do a lot of work comp or personal injury, a lot of times the attorneys need to be made aware of the status of the patient. Basically, you can click this, you can get all the attorneys in a row, you can give them a call, and you can let them know just downline how the patients and what the status are. If you want to differentiate by payment method, once again, it will resort it all according to what type of payment method your patients are. And that's the basic demonstration of Titan. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact Simply Pure Solutions, and I'm sure they'll be more than glad to help you. Thank you for joining us.